So, first things first, spoiler alert. If you watch Bridgerton and if you have not yet seen the full first part of Bridgerton, do not pass go, do not collect 100, is it $200? Okay. This is your opportunity to exit stage left. Okay. So, in this video, I really want to talk about that scene. You know the scene. We're going to get to that in a second and the backlash, right? Rightfully so. I get it. But what wasn't said, right? What I haven't heard anyone say, it may surprise you just from my perspective as a marriage coach, looking with that lens of like, I see relationships in everything. I see the things that we can pull from it. And I think that's fun because when we look at something, we're like, oh, I get that. I can relate, even though we're talking about Regency time, you know, fictional Regency time show. There's still something there to grab hold of and to glean from it. And I want to talk about it, something that you may not have thought about, and bring that into the fold of our real life relationships and how we make that those feel more connected, more partnered, and just feel better, right? Because that's what we want. We want to feel good in our relationships. So one sec. So the Bridgerton scene, the staircase scene, when Benedict professes his love, they're getting hot and heavy. It's all breathy in true Bridgerton fashion, and they're doing all the things, right? Not the thing, but all the things that would lead up to the thing. And he's just telling Sophie how much he cares about her, wants her, how much he thinks about her, can't stop thinking about her, and that she deserves more and that he wants to give her more. And so in his mind, the way that he does that is to ask her, will you be my mistress? And the energy of Sophie drops, and the Bridgerton fans clutch their proverbial pearls. And we're like, what the hell? You want to run that by me again? Run that back. What'd you just say? But no, he said it. He did. He asked her to be his mistress. And to to the, to the writers who did the season, I can say that they definitely planted the seeds. We can see how he got there. We can see how he was like, "Oh, I see these loving like mistress relationships," and he was just like, "This is the way. This is the only way." And a lot of folks were like, "Oh no, you degraded her. You don't really value her after you said all that stuff. You just told her that she deserved more." And how you interpret that is that she deserves to kick it with you in the shadows while you go up and live, your life with some lady that you marry and possibly have children with. Like, what is that? So you're like, you disrespected her, you don't value her. We see the irony in saying she deserves more and then that be your offering. It's not lost on us. And yet and still, I didn't foresee arrogance, selfishness. I get it, selfishness. And I get why people felt that way. Like, how dare you? What the hell? What's wrong with you? Why would you say that? That is horrible. No one would ever, you don't want to have that said to you. Those feelings were evoked. And yet, like I said, I didn't see the arrogance at first. I didn't look at necessarily the selfishness, though I get it. What I saw was someone who felt stuck and then made a unilateral decision for not just him, but for her. Instead of bringing her into the fold, he said, I want to make this work. This is the way that we can do that. He didn't say, hey, we're in a bit of a pickle. How do we handle this? He was like, I know how we handle this. Be my mistress. And I don't think, because in the world of Bridgerton, that we are meant to feel as if he doesn't care about her, he doesn't love her. Now, emotional maturity is in question, but usually that comes on the back end of a Bridgerton season, right? They've never been in relationships before and they have to figure it out, okay, as they go. And that is definitely what Benedict is doing. He knows what his heart is feeling. He knows what he wants, what he's yearning for, but he doesn't really know what it means to be in a relationship. Add on the fact that now we're talking about an upstairs downstairs relationship. Sophie being a maid downstairs, him being a nobleman upstairs, both figuratively and literally being two different worlds, two different different statuses. And he's like, I'm stuck. Our society says that we cannot marry. It is impossible. We are not allowed. I can't even be seen with you in that capacity. There's a power dynamic that's at play as well, because as a maid, you are subservient because you are a someone who serves. And so that puts you at a different level in this society than someone who is of noble blood or noble descent or what have you. And he's like, well, what do we do then? Because I know that I want to be with you. So he's like, right idea. You can be my mistress. We can kick it. You know that you're the one I love. So if I do marry some lady, you know it's not for real, for real. And she didn't want to hear that because the way that her whole mood dropped from absolutely elated to just deflated in that moment. I think as audience members, we felt that too. The thing that I think we didn't hone in on, right, in the discussion and in the commentary when it comes to relationships and romance is that in that moment, Benedict robbed Sophie of any agency around what they could do together and what was possible. He came to a conclusion because he felt stuck, because he felt limited, because he was feeling like they were in a box. And he was like, I have our resolution and solution to this, instead of involving her in the choice, right? That is where he went wrong. That is what I immediately saw. Like, you just came in with this idea. You already had your mind made up that this is the only way out. And you have another person, another entity that you could talk to about this, right? And Sophie's character isn't dumb. She is a smart character. She kind of lives on the fringe of both high society as well as being a maid in, in serving the nobles. And so she's a unique blend, and she's outspoken and she's real, right? That's part of her charm. And so another thing is that he might have made some assumptions about her that led him to just make a conclusion on his own, come to that conclusion on his own, that maybe she couldn't handle it. Maybe she didn't want to fight the system, right? She's not up for fighting the power and being completely, out ostracized by society. Maybe I'm protecting her from the whispers of people that would talk about her in particular, because we know they're going to talk about her in particular, snagging a nobleman. What, okay, you already know. I'm protecting her. All of these things. He made those decisions. It's going through his head. Boom, 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 boom. Got it. Let me tell you what we can do. Because even though it was posed as an offering or a question, it kind of wasn't. He wasn't like, hey, would you like to be my mistress? Hey, do you think being my mistress is a good idea? Hey, I've seen that some other people have really gone with their heart in this way, and that could that be an option for us? He was like, be my mistress. It was a question but also a statement. So here's how I think this translates to real relationships, translates to us. When you think about, well, let me go back a little bit. It translates to us because what it reveals is that we have a tendency, and we can have a tendency to make a decision that affects our partners on our own because we think it's the only or the best solution. We don't involve them. We don't allow them the freedom and the spaciousness for choice. And we might do it because we feel like we're protecting them. We might do it because we made assumptions about the fact that they can't handle it and they're too fragile, or they're going to be upset about it, which that might be okay, right? And so we do this, and what it robs us of is intimacy. What it robs us of is partnership because it limits us. And so we the part of the issue of why I feel like Benedict was even in this predicament is because he felt stuck. And how often do we feel stuck, financially stuck, in a financial situation that we feel stuck in? We can't do what it is that we want to do. We can't save how we want to save. We have to say no to our kids about something that they want that costs money. We feel stuck in a job that we don't like, but like we need money to survive. We need that check. And so even though we may not like this job, we're going to stay at this job because we need the compensation. And what the compensation is compensating for is the fact that we can't stay in this job. But here's this check, which allows us to eat and pay our bills like grown adults and take care of our families. We feel stuck in not knowing the path that we want to go and feeling like we're in a space of limbo, or feeling like we're in a routine or a rut that doesn't spark joy. Okay. Shout out Marie Kondo. It's a, ooh, that was slap my knee. I didn't know it was going to be that loud. But we're stuck in that. Any of these things, right? And more, in situations where you feel stuck, where you feel like, I don't know how to get out of this situation. And when it affects your partner, right? Because there are times, don't get me wrong, there are times when we have to make decisions individually because it's for us to make. We're not just one entity because we're partnered, we're still two individuals. And while we consider our partners, while we partner with our partners, we still have agency over our own decisions. And we need the discernment that says this decision is something we should involve our partner in. And there are times we just don't do that. We don't do the involving the way that we should. And that is where the tragedy lies for Benedict and for us, because we are missing an opportunity for connection and intimacy and feeling safe with our partners when we just go ahead and make a decision and do not include them. And then, and even if it is because we feel stuck. And so he felt stuck. These are situations where we feel stuck. We decide this is the best and the only option. How do we do that? We're like, hey, partner will bring us something. We're like, we can't afford that. Can we bring out a calculator? Can we crunch some numbers? Is this enough of a priority that we look at another line item on our budget and make a different decision? Right? Things can be a conversation, a discussion, but sometimes it feels like a blanket dismissal because one partner's already decided what it should be and what can be. We're like, hey, it's not realistic. Hey, we don't have enough time for this. And the other partner's left feeling like, oh, okay, well, you've already decided. And I guess I'm not included in this. I don't get a say or I don't get a choice. Sometimes they don't say that. Sometimes they say it in their head. Sometimes it's quiet. But we have those moments where we feel like we made a decision because of our own stuff and we don't include our partners. And then that piece of why we do it. Are we making assumptions about our partner's fragility, whether they can handle it? Are they going to get emotional or upset about it? About if I share this with them or ask their opinion, am I going to burden them? I'm feeling anxious about this decision. I'm feeling unsure. I'm feeling uncertain. And instead of sharing that with my partner, because I get it, vulnerability, I definitely had I had a client I still remember because anytime we mentioned vulnerability, she would roll her eyes. She was so here for it. She was incredibly coachable, but she just did not like that. She was like, "Oh my goodness, I don't want to do that." And it just felt like a lot. We got through that, but initially she was like, no, no, thank you." So I get it, and yet and still, we can feel like we're protecting them. We don't want to burden them with how we feel, the anxiety, the fear, the uncertainty. I'm gonna hold that so that they don't have to. And it feels like a noble cause, and it feels like a very valiant and respectful and considerate thing to do. And in actuality, we are still making a decision for our partner. We're still robbing them of agency and choice. Now, some things they might have said, look, they might have said to you, I don't want to deal with this. You got it. But in other things, sometimes you have to let them hold space with you. And sometimes the discerning factor around that is this something that is going to affect both of us in a way that, like, look, I need to get their buy-in too? Or is this something where if I make this decision, I take an action and it doesn't go well and there's consequences to the action, am I the only one that would have kind of seen it coming and they're completely blindsided by it? I work with this couple, and she took care of the finances, right? The day-to-day stuff. They had a tight season. She used a credit card to be able to pay for something. And for whatever reason, life was lifing. It fell through the cracks around paying that credit card. But he got the call that the credit card was past due. He didn't even know what the person was talking about, what the purchase was, none of it. And so when he came to her, was asking her about it. It was like, I'm just trying to understand. Maybe we need to fix this. Like, what, because it wasn't shared with him. And so in that instance, it might have been like, hey, look, I know I make these decisions. Things are tight right now. I'm going to use a credit card for this. So that even if there were consequences, even if it fell through the cracks and she didn't know what was what. All right. So when I tell you getting this video out has been the most difficult today. The first time I did it, the sound didn't work. And just now my son, who's supposed to be asleep, came out of the room. And yeah, that is what happened. And so after, hanging with him for a second, pausing this so I can handle him and talk to him and see what he needed. I don't remember exactly where I left off on the video. However, I know what we were talking about. I know a little bit about the trajectory. And so talking about making sure that that couple who had that she, that he came to her like, hey, it's going to be weird because you don't have the same pause that I did. So bear with me. But they came to her and was like, what happened? And he just didn't know. And he was completely blindsided by it. And that is a result of like, hey, I made this decision. And granted, in all fairness, didn't realize what the consequence was going to be, right? It was something that just fell through the cracks. It happens. But then in after the fact, like, you come to me, okay, let's brainstorm how we get out of this pickle that we're in. And so yeah, the connection and the intimacy is not in not making those uh assumptions, in when we feel stuck, instead of presenting a conclusion or presenting a decision that you feel is the only or best decision, actually presenting the struggle. You know what? We're in this situation. I don't really know what to do about it. I'm feeling uncertain. I'm feeling stuck. I don't know what our options are. And trust and believe that your partner can then help you brainstorm and see what the options are, right? Two heads are better than one. I know it's corny and cliche, but it's true. And it has proven true in my own relationship. There have been times where I thought that I looked at things from all the angles and I came to my husband like, look, this is what I got. And he was like, well, did you think about this? And I hadn't. And vice versa. Times when he was dead set on doing something one way. And I was like, well, have you thought about this and considered this? And he was like, no, but that might be better. That might save me time. That might save me effort. That might save me money, whatever it is. That cliche, corny concept of two heads are better than one is real. Not only because you can come up with something great, but because it's like saying, you don't have to hold on to this burden alone. I'm here for you too. We can share in this load. And sometimes a decision, when the decisions are hard ones, when the decisions are ideally or something for something joyful, like, let's go on a vacation, and they're like, we can't afford it. And you're like, we can't afford what? We didn't say where we could go. We didn't look at a weekend getaway. We didn't look at back in the day there was a Groupon. I don't know if they still have that, but we didn't look at any options, right? We got that friend across the street who, works in the travel group. Like what, we don't know what's possible because we haven't even looked at it. And so there's agency and there's intimacy and connection in involving your partner and in saying, I'm not going to present just a conclusion to you and what I think is the only or right option. I will present to you a struggle because here's the thing, in sometimes all your partner needs to hear is that you struggle too. Because sometimes your partner's struggling and it looks like on the outside you've got it all together. And sometimes you do, and sometimes they do, and sometimes you don't. And it can feel comforting to know that. That in and of itself can be a form of connection and connectivity. So, yeah, when we look at that scene and everybody's like, oh, you selfish and you were just emotionally immature. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And what can we glean from this? What is revealed in this that maybe no one's seeing, an angle that is not so in your face, which is to me was in my face. Like, did you just make a decision for the rest of y'all's life together or, the rest of your love together without even including this woman in that decision or not even just running it by her to see what her thoughts were on this? Because clearly you can have conversations, you've done it. And so can we. We can also have conversations. So the next time, because those are our tendencies, the next time you are in a position where you're making a decision that affects both of you, ask yourself, is this something that I should involve my partner in? Can we talk this through and it'll most likely make it easier for both of you? Um, so yeah, that's my 2 or 3 cents about that Bridgerton scene and what we can glean from that. I have hope for part 2. I have hope that, there will be more emotional maturity and understanding and involvement of her in her own life and life decisions. Because that's the way of Bridgerton. Often in the second half, there is a awakening and an understanding, right? And so we shall see how it goes down. It comes out on my birthday, the second half, on the February 26th. And also it's Ramadan. So I'm gonna see, I may or may not catch it. I don't really watch TV, at least during fasting time. So we'll see. I may have to do a part 2 if he comes to his senses and we might have to talk about it. But what came up for you? If you watch Bridgerton, if you do watch Bridgerton, what came up for you? Do you see that in this scene? We can continue the conversation below. If you don't watch Bridgerton, is there anything that resonated with you just around the relationship piece, around you making or your partner making a decision unilaterally and not involving you in that decision, even though the outcome of it affects you? Where can we present the struggle, present the I don't knows, the I'm not sures to our partner and allow for true partnership, intimacy, connection, and closeness through that? That's what I'll leave us with that. And with thank you for watching. I'm Imani Aisha. I am here to hopefully inspire, motivate, and empower us and myself, right? A reminder for myself to nurture the best relationship we can have with self and with our partners. And doing that in times of challenge and change and transition because they are inevitable. And I'm currently in one of the biggest transitions with my partner and my family, which is our move abroad. So sometimes I talk about that too. So if that is your vibe, please subscribe. If you like this video, um, then please, like this video. And if you want to continue the conversations in the comments, let's do that as well. If you are new here, bienvenidos. If not, bienvenidos otra vez. Welcome or welcome again. Thank you so much for watching, taking some time to have this conversation with me. And I will see you on the flip side, AKA tomorrow.